Alright, arbitrary 10,000 subscriber special, but seriously I want to stop and thank everybody for helping me get there. I started YouTube in 2006, and maybe this is like a cautionary tale, but YouTube can be tough, and it took me that long to, reach this milestone, but I want to stop and thank everybody again for the support on the recent Monster Hunter videos. My reviews in this past year has been really awesome. And what I have for you today is I'm going to be playing 5 of what I consider to be my favorite or best games of all time. And I'm going to be kind of reminiscing. I haven't played a lot of them in a while. I'm going to be talking about stories about them, about myself. Some of them kind of shaped my entire life outside of even video games. So maybe break this up in a few sittings because it's pretty long. Or you can put it on. It can work as like podcast kind of content. So enjoy. Alright, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which came out in 1993 on the original Game Boy, and this was my very first Zelda game. So it kind of holds a special place for me after all these years. We're going to be playing the DX version today, which adds in these fancy colors you see here. I think also a new dungeon and like a few minor additions, like a photo mode or something weird. Could be wrong on that. So like every Zelda game, all of my links are just Link. I never name them anything else. The classic waking up in bed. It's been a while since I played this. I don't remember a lot of this. I remember this first town pretty vividly. A lot of time spent cutting grass in the east side of town, I remember. For rupees. Zelda. So this Link is aware of Zelda already. I wonder if it's confirmed. It's probably already confirmed. I just don't know what like timeline Link this is from, where he already knows the Zelda at this point. A Link to the Past Link, I'm guessing? Who knows? My shield! Alright. Can we pick up yet? No, we need the, that bracelet. Alright, alright. Oh yeah, I remember this town. Yep, this is what I was talking about. So I'd cut that grass like over and over and over and get free money. We probably can't do anything in here yet, really. What? Just push all the buttons at once to save. I do not remember that. Awesome. So this game has a lot of weird Mario stuff. You can see we got a chain chomp there. Little baby chain chomp. Gives this game a weird... Since it is kind of like a dream state kind of game, it's kind of fitting. There's like really weird melding of Mario and Zelda going on. But that's what I like about this game. I remember that book. You gotta Pegasus boots into that and knock it down. So when I first played this, back when I was a kid, I was one of those dumb kids. And I could only make it so far in this game, like maybe the 3rd or 4th dungeon. And then I would do this like cheat to glitch my way through the game. I don't know if you can do it in the DX version. You'd pretty much go to the edge of the screen, and if you hit over and like the map button at the right timing, I think that, yeah, I did it, but I'm pretty sure they took it out in the DX version. You get right to the edge, over and select at the exact same time. And if you did it right, you would actually skip over an entire panel of the screen and be in the next screen, which could get you stuck very often, but you could also get by locked doors and kind of go through walls and do some weird shenanigans by doing that. And that's how I made it through the game when I was a kid. I later went back, and when the DX version came out, I did, properly beat it then. Dang, how do you get over there? Oh! I forgot the shield could push those. Nice. Alright. So everything in this world kinda gets hostile because we showed up. Interesting. Alright. Oh, it must be mine because it has my name on it. No way. His name is Sail? What? Sail the crocodile. Alright, sir. Man, the music in this game is so good. Ow. Dang. Hitboxes on those spikes, jeez. The hitboxes probably made way more sense back on the small Game Boy screen, but all blown up here on the big screen makes them seem a little exaggerated. Ow. Alright, so let's get to this woods. For some reason I thought the start of this game, you go to that dungeon in on the side of the beach. That must be later, I guess. I was thinking you go from getting the sword to go do that, but I forgot about going to the woods. Let's go in this well. Ooh. Heart piece. So I'm one of the few people who prefers this vastly over A Link to the Past. I like A Link to the Past, but I think sometimes it feels like a chore to get through, where this one I have more equal fun all throughout. There are some dungeons in this that are kind of a pain in the butt. Like the one where you're knocking down like pillars in the dungeon itself. That one's kind of a pain. Yeah, I really wish we could do that glitch I was talking about, because we could get in some weird situations. Guess we'll just play the proper way. Yeah, when I was a kid, I just remember this being just so confusing. I was maybe like, oh man, I was maybe like 8 or so, something like that. Because I didn't play the original Zelda on the NES when it came out. Like I said, this was my first one. So this whole like adventure style, I just couldn't wrap my head around that well back then, because I was used to playing, you know, like Super Mario Brothers and you know, like Castlevania, more straightforward games. We didn't really have to like figure stuff out as much. Ooh, mushroom. Toadstool. I do not remember what that does. Not at all. Let's try it. Alright. Just huffing some mushrooms, I guess. Why not? Alright, so we can't cross there. I guess we just came over here to get that toadstool. I don't remember what that's for, though. Acorn! Guardian acorn. Dang, I forgot this had, like, this weird power-up thing. Ooh. Is this where I take the toadstool? Yep. Nice rat cat. Whatever that is. Here you go. Whoa. Fast. Fast brewing. What? Ow. Dang, that really messed that guy up. I do not remember experimenting with the magic powder as much as I probably should have back in the day. But that's immediately all I want to do. So it seems like the default thing it does is catch guys on fire. But as you could tell by the squid dude, there are some weird modifiers. Like googly eyes. This is where we use it. On this funky dude. Let's see what he says. Oh jeez. He's turned into pinball. Oh what? It's that guy. This game is weird. You're the guy that gave me my shield just like 5 minutes ago, dude. He just went straight for the woods, straight for them toadstools. Okay, now we got the key to go to that dungeon. Nice. Wonder if you can magic powder the dog. Huh. Killed the dog. My bad. Alright, dungeon time. Alright, here we go. Out of all the Zelda games, this one reminds me the most of Breath of the Wild for some reason. It's maybe like the weirdness to it, and like the dungeons have that kind of weird prefabricated feel to them, like doing the shrines in Breath of the Wild, and how like both games you kind of just wake up and you're kind of looking for Zelda. I'm trying to remember what you get here. Did you get the Rock's Feather so you can jump? I think that's the first item you get. One of the few Zelda games where you can just manually jump. I mean, I guess you could jump in Zelda 2. You can jump in Breath of the Wild. Maybe you can jump in more than I'm remembering. But most of the 3D ones, you have that thing where you like go off of edges to jump. What are these? Oh, I can't understand it because it has no beak. Of course. What? Yes! Goombas. This game is so weird. I love this game. Oh, you can't bounce on their head though. That's just like, I didn't even think about what game I was playing. I just naturally tried to bounce on their head. Okay, here's the Rock Feather. I do remember some of this. It's coming back to me. Nightmare's Key. I don't remember them being called that. Oh man, I hated these. I don't know why I was so bad at doing these. Alright. So after the diamond. Nope. Yep, too bad. Too bad at these. Got it. Got a beak. I really don't remember what these beaks do. They just give you like hints or something? Yeah. Turn aside the spin ones with a shield. I knew that already. Beak? Ooh, mini boss. Oh yeah, I forgot. That's like the most satisfying hit noise of all time. Like all the bosses make that. Cool way to learn how to properly use the Rock Feather there. Alright, that takes us back to the entrance. We already have the boss key, but let's see what's down here. Oh, this is the... Dang. Skeletons. Castlevania going on. This is where you drop down if you get pushed off. Oh, I hate this boss. It's the centipede thing. Oh, jeez. I think I'm too hasty on this fight, so I always suck at it. Oh, I got the map a little late. I'm trying to just stay in the middle. Got him. Yeah, I'm always bad at that fight. That fight and the one in A Link to the Past, I'm abysmal at. I think I'm worse at the one in A Link to the Past. Full Moon Cello. It's pretty cool how in this one you're gathering all these instruments to wake the windfish. I think that's cooler than just getting the like gems or whatever. Alright, that's Link's Awakening. I think I'm going to end it here. That's my very first Zelda game I ever played. Really awesome game. I think the quality of it still stands up to this day, and there's a child screaming outside, which is probably another top 10 thing of all time for me, is screaming children. I think this is still to this day one of the most quality games ever made, even compared to other 2D sprite-based games that we have today. Just like the stylistic choices, the designs, just the overall feel this game has is not really matched very well today. And yeah, I played this as a kid. I may or may not have cheesed my way through it when I was a kid, but came back later when I was an adult and properly beat it. So yeah, Link's Awakening. On to the next game. Alright, little game you might have heard of, Bloodborne. Now, who do I want to play as? It's been a while since I played this. I'm just going to go ahead and use my highest level dude. Now, instead of showing the beginning of the game, that I feel like that intro area has been shown at nauseum at this point, so we're going to do a Chalice dungeon, which, if we do a root chalice, it should be pretty random, and we're not sure what we're going to find here. Let's do this one. There's one where you have like vastly less health when you go, and I gotta make sure I don't pick that one because I'm probably gonna be really sloppy at this. I'm just coming off getting the platinum in the new God of War, and I guarantee you I'm gonna press the wrong dodge button because dodge on that was X and dodge on here is circle. So I'm gonna be sloppy, I guarantee it. Now, out of all the Soulsborne games, if you would have asked me about a year ago, I would have said Dark Souls 1 was my favorite, but I feel like over time, as time passes from Bloodborne, I like it more and more and more, even though I loved it when it came out, but it's aging really well, other than the 30 frames a second thing it's got going on. It is going to need like a next-gen remaster 60 FPS to really stand the test of time, but I feel like Bloodborne's really aging quite well. Even more so than the first Dark Souls, because I just recently did the network test for that Dark Souls remaster, and I was like, oh man, this is starting to feel a little like it's aging not too well. So if you're new to Bloodborne, these Chalice dungeons are optional giant dungeon systems that are procedurally generated with some preset like tiles linked together, and some like enemies dotted them and treasure chests, and there's some weird bosses in here, so you never really know what you're gonna find, especially in these root versions. So Bloodborne has my favorite combat system of all of games. I think it's a couple things. It's that good middle ground. It's not too slow, it's not too fast. You know, I really love like Monster Hunter, Bayonetta. Those are kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum. But this hits that good like middle ground. And the trick weapons are awesome. How they morph. How you can like link them into different attacks in mid-attack. Just the weapons in this game have so much weight, and the hit feedback on enemies is awesome. There's a health regain mechanic where if you get hit, if you retaliate quick enough, you can like get some health back, which is awesome. Which will be demonstrating here since I'm sucking. That's really a cool jump scare, dude. What? That's a cool mechanic. I think should be used more. So these chalice dungeons, these are kind of made to provide an infinite amount of content, and they kind of succeed. Probably the only flaw of them is they're incredibly repetitious in design elements, and it's really easy to get lost if you're not paying attention because they look so samey, and the more you do them, the more and more it sets in. It was a good first step. I feel like if there is a sequel to Bloodborne, I sure hope they do like Chalice Dungeons 2.0 because they're really on the right track and could really make these awesome with maybe some more unique environments, maybe some different modifiers. Because pretty much all of them are going to look this same dark, catacombs-y for the most part. But they're good to just jump in and do some combat. There's some traps, as we could see. All kinds of weird shenanigans going on in here. Oh, spiders. Oh, geez. So we're using the whirligig saw, which is pretty much like a pizza cutter, which is pretty awesome. This is starting to come back to me. I'm still pretty sloppy with it. The dodging is, although it is on a different button than God of War, the entire feel of dodging in this is completely different than God of War. I really love the combat system in God of War, but I felt like the loosey-goosey nature of the dodging mechanic and how your enemies' attacks would kind of flash the yellow or the red, and they had like super homing on their attacks. It was fine for like most of the fights, but those like Valkyrie fights where like you really need to perfect your dodges, I feel like the game was just a little too loose with its dodging mechanic and the incoming attack reads and all that. Yeah, there's something about this game where if I'm playing too many like other games that have maybe more how do you say it, mainstream combat systems, like as time passes and I haven't played Bloodborne, I'll get this urge where like, man, I gotta just go into Bloodborne and like kill some stuff. I have that same like weird thing with Seinfeld, where like the more time that passes since I've done a rewatch of Seinfeld, the more and more I start to quote it, to where I'm like quoting it multiple times a day. I'm like, alright, it's time for a rewatch. It's like this ever-growing presence. Same thing with Bloodborne's combat. Oh, I forgot. This has like the best, most satisfying gaming thing ever. The parry. The gun parry. Let's try it here. Oh, that's so good. That should be like a video I do, like best seconds of animation of games, where like it would be that, the Bloodborne parry, like the Gears of War sniper headshot, just like those briefest satisfying snaps of gameplay. That'd be a cool one to do. Okay, so like I was saying before, these are kind of made up of predetermined like tiles, and you start getting start seeming kind of samey. There's gonna be a boulder that rolls down here, and it's like every time. A weird boss room. So yeah, there's tons of weird bosses in the Chalice dungeons. I'm not much of a Let's Player guy, so I'm not talking too much here because I do need to concentrate or I will die. Oh geez. Awesome. I've never seen that. That's what's cool about the Chalice dungeons. It's where all the rejected content went. The weird, find some weird enemies and stuff. There's actually a whole community that started a few months ago. It's all about exploring these and finding like cut content and stuff, which is pretty cool. So that's the first floor of that dungeon done. Let's go do a little bit of the second. Big guy. He's got like candles on his back. For two guys? Are they fighting? There's like a pig versus a big dude. Man, that's a hairy situation we got here. Oh, this is gonna be where I die. That guy's sniping me. I'm gonna try to kill him real quick. Well, at least the pig is damaging that dude. Go, pig, go. Nice. Pig saved the day. That'll do, pig. That'll do. I forget if these guys have the, like, comical pig animation that we know from Dark Souls. I forget. I think it does. I think you have to be behind them. You have to, yeah, you have to backstab them or whatever. Let's try it. Oh. Yep. It's like for everybody that like says like, oh, Bloodborne isn't a Souls game, or why do you call it Soulsborne? If the game has that exact pig killing animation, it's a Soulsborne game. It'd be really cool if they kind of made a roguelite version of these Chalice dungeons. I might be a little obsessed with that genre as well. But I actually tried to make something like that like years ago in this, where I had all the weapons and all the armor like on a spreadsheet kind of thing, and you'd roll dice and like just have to use whatever I rolled, and then I'd go into a random Chalice dungeon and you can only use what you find. It didn't really work perfectly, but that would be cool if like you just get plunked in here like with nothing on and you just gotta find what you can find and make it through. That'd be awesome. Is that where the rats come from or something? Never seen that gate. I do not remember this room layout with a cannon. What? What should we do here? Alright, so I've officially lost myself in this Chalice dungeon. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. That's Bloodborne. Definitely one of my favorite games of all time. Really excited if they make a sequel. Since the majority of the time all I did was talk about what they could do with Chalice dungeons. I didn't even mention what they could do with like the base game that has like amazingly well crafted areas. But yeah, on to the next. Alright, Super Mario Bros. 3. I surprisingly still have the original cartridge that I played like when I was probably 6 or 7, which you just saw up on the screen, and it's still in pretty good quality. I don't know if it works. Playing this on the Wii U, which is a terrible emulation of the game, but it was just easier to capture on here. So as most people know by now, the entire theme of this game is that it's taking place like as a play. As you can see, like these things are screwed into the background, like they're props, and you can kind of see they're like casting shadow. Kind of a cool theme that was like, it was always thought of as like a rumor or like a theory, But I think a couple of years ago, Miyamoto came out and said, yeah, it's a play. And like you exit stage left or right or whatever that saying is up here. Yeah. Stage left because you're standing up there. You go left. I don't know. I was not on the drama team or anything similar in school, so I'm not sure on that. If they had a class, they should have had a class in school like where you like anti-talk to people, anti-drama class. I'd be into that. A class all about not talking to people. I really love the butt slide in this. Do like the reverse butt slide. Always fun. Yeah, I remember just like plugging away at this when I was a kid, just like over and over, especially this first area. Because since I was like only 6 or whatever, there's no way I could have beat this game back then. I never made it like super far. I think I made it to where you can get the like that stone suit, or the place after where you can get the frog suit. I forget what that was called, but that's about as far as I could make it. And years later, when I did beat it, when I got to like the Bowser land where it's all like fiery and stuff, like had this huge like wave of memory of, oh, I've been here. Like when I was a kid, I've seen this. I don't remember if I like got on someone else's like save file at someone else's house, or if I like used those flutes and like got my way there, but I know I definitely didn't like play through the game normally and get there. Oh man, these buttons. Dang you, Wii U. We're gonna change the buttons. For some reason I was super confused by that menu. Not sure why. Okay, that's better. You have to get that like the YB combo where you're holding down run and you can just rock your thumb onto B. I couldn't do that on the BA setup. I was playing some like retro games with someone that didn't really grow up with like D-pads. They grew up in like the 3D era, and they had like the hardest time with like the D-pad. They were like kind of poking with their thumb at the directions, and like their thumb got sore, and I'm like, no, you're supposed to be like, you kind of like rock your thumb around on the D-pad. You don't like do these very exact presses of the directions. Like they just couldn't comprehend like rocking your thumb around on it. And you know, the same thing with the YB buttons I was just explaining, where you kind of like hold down one and rock your thumb. You don't like, you know, exactly press either. So that was kind of funny. The repercussions of growing up with 3D. That's quite the abomination I just created there. For some reason in the original Super Mario Bros, these Bowser castles where you have to like jump over them at the end on the bridge, like to this day I just luck run in there and just do it. I don't know like a good way to do those still. I don't know why. I just run straight forward and jump, and if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. There's no like thought process I do with them. And in this one it has what, those like Koopa kids, I believe. I like those much better than the bridge thing. It might be a little easy, but dang, that was an epic boss fight back in the day, come on. I didn't really have a ton of NES games. I have 3 that I guarantee that I had because I have them right next to me on my shelf. This, Bubble Bobble, and Castlevania. But some others that I knew I had Rad Racer, which came with 3D glasses. Man, was that it? I didn't have and the original Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt, but like everybody had that. That's not even like a game at this point. It's like, if If you had an NES, you had that. I believe it was a pack-in. That's why. Yeah, I really didn't have that many NES games. I can't think of... I didn't have the other Castlevanias. I didn't have 2 and 3. I rented 3. I thought it was way too hard. Like, insanely hard. I did not have Super Mario Bros. 2. And to this day, I still think that's like an oddball, not a Mario game, because it kind of isn't. They just kind of like... It's another game slapped on with Mario. And even back then, I'm like, oh, this game's kind of weird and gross and odd. I thought this was so cool that you have this like bottom inventory where you can like use items. That was really cool back in the day. What is that animal? I never knew what the heck that animal is. It's like a dog with a... Oh, I see it now. Yeah, it's a dog with a spot. His face always looked weird to me. It looked like a koala bear face for some reason to me. It looked like a weird like koala dog, but like 27 years later, I just realized I could see, I made out the dog face clearly right there. For some reason it was always like, looked weird in my brain. These airships are so good. These are like the highlight of the game, I think. Usually like auto scrollers kind of suck, but I think that's pretty cool in this game how they do it. Like, doesn't auto scroll too fast, and there's not like weird like, oh, I got stuck kind of issues as much as some games that have auto scroller stages. I always love grabbing that in the air, get that good freeze frame. Thank heavens! I didn't think Nintendo allowed religious stuff back in the day like that. But there we go, we saved that dude. Get a nice little letter from Princess Toadstool. And I was gonna stop there. Let's do one world of the Sand World. I'm like getting into this more than I intended. I forgot this has those, yeah, those tiny Goombas. Like, what's up with that? Are those like Goomba babies? Did I put their babies to work in like these boxes? That's like where you start. If you're like a Goomba intern. Alright. I might just sit around and play more of this actually, but we're gonna move on to the next game. Alright, so what we have here is Guild Wars 1, the first MMO I ever played and really got into. This game probably changed physically my life the most out of all these games, because we'll get into it later, but pretty much moved across the country, and yeah, we'll get into it. But here's the characters I had. Some of them are my mains, and some are just like characters I barely played. I remember my monk here I liked a lot, and my elementalist. So we're going to go ahead and jump in with my elementalist. I haven't played this game in probably almost 10 years, so I'm not going to have any idea what's going on. But I'm going to try my best to just play around, have some memories. Man, I'm surprised there's still this many people in this game. Wow. Because Guild Wars 2 came out maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I assumed a lot of these people would have moved on to there. Now, Guild Wars 2 I was kind of disappointed with. I'll go into that later. So let's go ahead and map travel somewhere. This game has some of the best maps. There's, I think, 3 big maps like this. No, 4. 3 or 4, I forget. But they're really well-made maps. I always enjoyed how easy it was to navigate in this game. Let's go here. We're going to just go out and try to kill some stuff. Show you how the combat is. Now, all the areas where you fight things, they're all instance-based. So you're not going to ever just meet players out in the world randomly. You can only meet players in town. And we're not going to be using real players, so we do have these like AI companions, because the areas are scaled around you having a team, which is vastly different than, you know, the World of Warcrafts and many other MMOs out there where you just solo most of the game. So let's throw in some bots here. You can dual class in this game, and the MO/E, that's a monk elementalist. So that was another cool thing, that you could dual class and really have some interesting combinations. Alright, so we have 8 people, and here's the skill bar. This is all the skills you can get. This game smartly doesn't let you have like 900 skills down here. It plays out more like a card game where you have builds and you really care about your builds. I remember when I was maximum obsessed with this game, sitting in college classes and sneaking onto wiki pages and just trying to do builds, making up stuff, and you could save all of them, which was really nice. So let's go out and kill some stuff. But yeah, it's kind of like a hidden card game when you really think about the combat. How you have your kind of deck, you have to very carefully choose. These are like resurrection shrines. When you die, you go back to those. Now, usually an elementalist would attack from afar with like a staff, but like I remember back in the day, the meta was for casters to have like a shield and a sword or something with like a certain enchantment. I don't remember why now, but that's why I have a sword and shield at the moment. Forgot to do my buffs. Oh geez. Don't die on the first guys. Yeah, as you can see, like if I just came out here by myself without these like bots like doing stuff and healing me and getting aggro, I would just instant die. That's one really weird thing about this game, is how they made it pretty much revolve around a full team for anything, which some people didn't like. I didn't mind it. So I guess we'll start one of those 2 stories I teased. So this game, I probably have the most hours of all games I've ever played in this, and it's where I actually met my wife and moved across the country. Towards the end of my college career, I moved states, moved by her, and yeah, still together to this day from Guild Wars. We were in the same guild, we played together a lot, and just kind of naturally went from there. Man, I probably have thousands of hours in this game. I think there's a way to tell. We could do that. We could do that right now. Might be embarrassing. /age. 3,656 hours over the past 149 months. So yeah, that's by far not even a competition the most I've played of any one game. I usually don't get any games anywhere close to 1,000 hours, even like some of my favorite games ever. So yeah, that's how Guild Wars 1 really shaped my life and who I'm with to this day. The other story I was going to tell about Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 was one of my and my wife's most anticipated games, probably of all time. Because we just loved this game so much. And Guild Wars 2 came out, and it's not a bad MMO. It's actually like one of the better MMOs out now. But it was rather disappointing compared to this one. There was a lot of steps back, I thought. They tried too hard to copy WoW in the second one. And this one, they're like completely doing their own thing. Because WoW hadn't been out as long, so it wasn't quite the foundation for all MMOs to come quite so much like it is now, or every MMO is like that uses that as a template and then does, you know, various tweaks to its systems after the fact. But Guild Wars 2, they made the combat more action focused, and I thought that really kind of took away from the PvP part of this game, because I think this game has the best PvP of any game. even compared to like MOBAs and games that have that very tight-knit, thought-out PvP. And I played tons and tons of the PvP in this, and I really liked it. And that's why I was so obsessed with like making the cool builds, like unique builds. I was never someone who like did the wiki builds. I like favored making up my own builds, and a lot of the times I found some builds that were just like almost broken good. And you know, I wasn't doing like YouTube really then. Oh, we all died. And so I didn't really like share them with anybody. So I was like the only people rocking some of these wacky builds, and people would criticize you going into the team arenas and stuff, but then you would like just destroy everybody. So it's like, well, I may not be using the build you read about, you know, on your little internet page, but I'm doing probably better than that would have done. So that's one thing that Guild Wars 2 I think did worse, was the action combat, although immediately fun, especially in PvE. It actually probably is superior for PvE combat than this game's, but PvP, it was I think a mess. They did have a cool system that didn't really work how it was supposed to, where different classes could like combo their skills together, but the game was just so chaotic and hectic that the only time you really did them was just by accident. You know, like put down a fire spell and then someone cast like a water thing on it and would like do steam that would blind people around it. That sounds cool, and it would happen from time to time, but most of the times it was just accident. So yeah, we all died because I don't remember how to play this, but let's go check out the original map. So I changed my mind. I'm actually gonna show you the different map on a different character. Let's play a melee character. See, my dervish I liked quite a bit. Actually, before we do that, I just realized we probably have tons of birthday gifts to open up on here. For every year you played, you got these like birthday gifts that have like mini pets and stuff. Let's see. Oh, we sure do. 6th birthday, 7th birthday, present voucher, I don't know what that is. So let's do like the lamest old game unboxings ever. I want to make the interface bigger here. Shoop. Alright. We got a miniature Ventari. Weird horseman. And we got some kind of tonic, which changes us into a lady. Alright, those are kind of lame. Let's try someone else. Let's go back to my elementalist, see what she's got. I think she's my oldest character. Got another tonic. Pumpkin guy. Miniature Black Beast of Arg. That's an awesome Holy Grail reference. That's actually a pretty cool pet. Large for a mini pet. Okay, cool. Free little birthday gifts. Alright, so let's go do some dervish fighting. So I'm just going to be pressing buttons here because I don't remember what any of these skills do. I kind of remember my elementalist skills because I played that class so much. But this class, no idea. So what I was talking about before with Guild Wars 2, like I said, the game's not bad at all, but it's one of my most disappointing games probably of all time. That had just nowhere near surpassed this game, the first game. Locked chest. I do not have a lockpick. I've tried to go back to Guild Wars 2 like probably 5 times now. I have all the expansions, and I still played a couple hundred hours of it, but nowhere was I addicted to it nearly as much as I was to this game. Also, the dungeons I thought were bad, especially at launch, or like the first year. Since there was no dedicated healer in Guild Wars 2, I don't know if there is now. But for some reason, even though playing healer in this game was incredibly fun, they felt they needed to take out the healing role in Guild Wars 2. So dungeons really came down to you're taking no damage, you're taking no damage, you're taking no damage, oh, you're dead in like one hit. Like there was no middle ground of like, oh, I'm like half dead and let me kind of run back and get healed. It was mostly just like as soon as you get hit, you're dead. Or it's like it was just a bunch of dying and people resurrecting you and just getting one shot, which I didn't like either. I think I don't know if they added a class or some kind of change to class, but I think there is a class that's kind of like a healer now. It's not like the monk in this game where they're like dedicated healer, but I think they did do some changes because I did play some of the latest expansion, and it did have a cool thing where they added mounts that instead of just the lame like, hey, you move faster around this world, the mounts actually acted like a Metroidvania kind of where you could go back and get into certain areas of places you saw before. There's like a mount that could jump really high, one that could like float, and so that was cool. That was a cool way to use mounts in more of a game mechanic way rather than just a traversal or get around quicker kind of way. Well, this game was also one of the first games that I remember where you could like draw in the minimap. So you could like, tell you, and that would go to the whole team. So that was really cool to like, you could just easily do. I think every game, like why haven't more games adopted that? It's so easy and good for teams to just be able to instantly visually communicate with your team like that. I think more games should adopt that. So that's Guild Wars 1, everybody. That's my favorite MMO. It's really not even a contest. Like, I've had no MMO since this stick, and I've tried literally almost every single one. Final Fantasy 14, WoW, WildStar, like all of them, and they all just seem like you're going through the motions too much. Like, I don't want to go on a rant now about like Final Fantasy 14, but I was like talking to people in my guild that I was in when I was just a pretty low level person, and I'm like, well, what makes me different than everybody else? Like, it seems like everybody gets the same skills, and like, oh, it's just like your gear. I was like, oh, so like my level 50 mage or whatever is doing the exact same rotation of skills that like every other level 50 mage is really doing? Like, oh, that's lame, because I was used to this game where your build is so uniquely yours, and something you really have to think about. It's like, oh, I just get this same progression of skills that like everyone's going to be using. I just thought that was kind of lame. But anyways, I don't want to jump into the MMO war debate, but this was Guild Wars 1, my favorite MMO, and it really shaped my whole living situation where I live. I live across the country now from the rest of most of my family. But awesome MMO. Still people playing it today. If you want to give it a try, you just buy the game. There's no monthly subscription, which was always a fact of it. It's one of the first MMOs to do that. And it wasn't like free to play model. It was just, buy once and then play forever. Alright, and now on to the next. Alright, last and certainly not least, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which was my first 3D game I ever played. This came out on the Nintendo 64 in 1998. You know the drill here. You know the drill. And unlike most people, their first 3D experience, a lot of people's was Mario 64. And mine was not. It was this. So this is probably the most ingrained into my brain game of all these, because this game was really when video gaming went from like just like a little thing you did as a kid, like almost like a extension of a toy, to this was like the first time I like was on this adventure. And like I wasn't really beating games before this, like back in the NES days, and I skipped Super Nintendo. And NES games are freakishly hard, so I don't really fault myself too much for not really hardly beating any back then. But this was like the first time I really like set out and beat this entire adventure back then, and that was really memorable. and just blew me away. I love how quick this starts. It's just like Ganondorf stole your lady, and let's go. I like this introduction with the fairy here. How he's like flying through the town. It was like very cinematic. Like they would do this shot nowadays in like a modern game. Like this way the fairy flies through town. That's about to happen. I don't know why I think that's so cool. That's a cool intro. Like the perfect introduction to this weird little forest town. Or like any kind of like stupid monologue about why this town is important, I think would kind of dilute it. This environment right here at the start, every time I go back to this game, it always shocks me that I'm like, oh yeah, it's not all like 3D environments. Got this weird like, you know, the Final Fantasy VII style painted background thing going on. And I never remember that for some reason. Always catches me off guard right here. I'm like, oh, what? Weird. This was back when like nobody really knew what frame rate really was. And it didn't really matter back then, but now it's like going back to this, it's like, oh, this game is running at like 20 frames a second. Oh boy. It's weird how like something that didn't bother you back then is like shockingly like, oh, jarring now. Although we have the semi-remake of this on the 3DS, which bumped up the frame rate, we really need like a Switch port of that because there's no good way to play this on a big screen at like a decent frame rate. We need a shield, don't we? This game was the first game to have this like lock-on Z target thing where you kind of hone in on something, you move around it, and you can like dodge and block away from it. And that was like brand new back then. This was the first game to do that. It's obviously very popular now. Since we were playing Bloodborne earlier, and I do a lot of like Soulsborne stuff on the YouTube channel, you obviously know I'm a big fan of that. And I've always felt like that game uses that very exact same style of combat, and I feel like the Soulsborne series of games is the natural maturing of this game along with me over time. Like the evolution of Ocarina of Time is the Dark Souls games. Not that one is like for kids and one's like mature. It's like the concepts aged along with me from this to that. I don't know if that makes any sense. But like whatever magic this captured for me as a kid, the Dark Souls series capture that exactly in the same way as an adult with a lot of the same you know, trappings and same kind of movement combat kind of system. Obviously it's much more elaborate in the Souls games than here, but it's the same thing of, you know, locking onto someone, you kind of go around them, you get your hits in, you can dodge backwards, dodge to the side. Boss fights in an arena. So now we just need a shield. And how many rupees did you need? Like somewhere between 30 and 50. I remember just having to farm rupees here for a while. Guess we could go find out. That was another thing I thought was cool back in the day. One thing they were really bad at, like in the 8-bit and 16-bit eras, was having any kind of resemblance of an economy, a good economy in a game. And I always thought this was so cool. Like, what, I have to, like, rupees aren't just like a score. Or like a stupid, like a coin in like Mario or something. It's like, oh, I have to go out and spend the next 10 minutes getting rupees right now to get that shield to progress. I don't know why I thought that was cool back then to like have to farm rupees. That would be like looked down upon nowadays of like, oh, I gotta farm some stupid collectible. But I don't know, I thought that was cool. Even though I was saying the frame rate was kind of jarring at first, it's one of those weird things you just like get used to it. It's like one of those things like, it feels bad to get used to it, but You do. Sadly. You can get used to bad frame rates. Like, frame rate matters the most in the first, like, 15 minutes. Could you imagine playing a game now where, like, the draw distance is this bad? Like, there he is. That's, like, shockingly bad. I wonder why they chose to not have more of that, like, fog effect and kind of take a hit to the backgrounds and have the characters pop in a little sooner. Because, like, do we really need to, like, see all that, like, the fence work, but, like, that guy literally pops up right in front of us like a ghost? It's odd. I don't know if that would have been better to have that stupid fog effect that was in, like, a lot of PS1 games and stuff. That could be worse. This could be a good trade-off, I guess. I wonder if that's why they all have fairies in the town. I never thought of that. Because, look, you can obviously see the fairies first, so it indicates where people are. I wonder if that was more a design decision according to the limitations of the game, more so than like in the lore, like everybody has a fairy in this town. It's probably a combination of both. Whoever the guy was, like, on the board meeting that was like, yeah, our characters, like, they're gonna pop in pretty jarringly right in front of us, but we could render these fairies from a lot farther. Like, oh yeah. Good thinking, Tom. There's, like, nothing as satisfying. Remember that list I was talking about earlier about, like, satisfying, like, seconds of games? Slicing the signs in Ocarina of Time. That would be on that list. Alright, so we have enough rupees now. Should probably stop cutting signs and go, get to that Deku Tree who is dying. How many games have useful sticks? Or this game, it does. Because, like, you have to light things on fire with the sticks. For some reason, it's really cracking me up now that he has, like, a mustache. Obviously, everyone knows the Great Deku Tree has a mustache. But you don't really think about, that's a tree with a mustache. Inside the Deku Tree. I think this is one of the best dungeons of the entire game because it's the perfect introductory dungeon. It, like, may not be the best dungeon in the game, like, quality wise, or, like, in terms of ingenuity, but for, like, first dungeon, kind of introduce you to what you're going to be doing, it's perfect. Like, doesn't hold your hand too much. Has some weird mechanics that you wouldn't expect, but it's cool when you figure them out. Like how you have to break through the webbing down there. I remember being stumped on that for a while. Never would have thought you'd, like, drop down and... See, now I forget, is it just from impact or did you have to use fire? Oops. I forget if you can break that just by dropping from a high distance or if you have to have a stick on fire while doing it. This probably isn't high enough. Nope. But the game did show us, like, if we jump for that heart and it shows us that swaying like that, it's like, oh, you're gonna use this later. That was also a new thing that you don't see mentioned as much as, like, the Z targeting thing, and how, like, you have an adaptive button that, you know, does various things and interacts in different ways according to what you're looking at. That wasn't very common back then either. I remember this being, like, super hard to control on the junky old N64 sticks that were all loose. Oh, it was so hard to aim with this. Yeah, this is a lot easier to aim on modern sticks. And just like back then, so many of the N64 controllers were so overused from, like, everyone playing Mario Party too much, and they were, like, all wobbly. It was just so hard to aim in games. Alright. So I think we just jump. I don't think you need fire. Find out. Yep, there we go. We need fire on this next part, though. One thing I've never done in this game, I've gotten every single collectible and done everything except for all the gold skulatulas or sculptulas or whatever they're called. Because like the reward is so bad for getting them, I just never bothered. Even after like multiple times playing this and like wanting to 100% everything, I always get to the, like, okay, I got everything done, all the heart pieces, everything, and then it's like, oh, I gotta get like 30 more of these things, and like all your reward is like money that you don't need at all. So that's like the only thing I've never done in this game. There's 2 in this one room? And like if you attack or something out of this, you would like save the stick. That was like best life hack of all time back in the day. It's like, oh, did you know you can like save a stick if you swipe with your sword? Wonder if you can backflip this. Oh, what? Accidental speedrun tactics. Who knows what they do in like actual speedruns in this? They probably like don't even go in this room. Probably just like glitch through to the boss in like a millisecond or something. Alright, so that's The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Definitely one of my favorites, if not the favorite. And that's gonna be the last game that I'm playing here today. And now to the outro with myself. Alright, thanks, Guy. I want to thank everybody for sitting through this extra long episode, and as always, this has been Deadite from Boomstick Gaming, and thanks for watching.